The world has lied to you. Since childhood, you've been told a comforting fairy tale. Be good, be kind, be honest, and the world will reward you. Work hard, play fair, and success will follow. Turn the other cheek and you'll be respected for your virtue. But deep down, you already know this isn't true. You've felt it in your bones each time your kindness was exploited. Each time your honesty was punished. Each time your fairness was met with manipulation. This isn't pessimism, this is clarity. And today, we're going to explore what one of history's most misunderstood philosophers understood 5 centuries ago. That goodness without strategy is simply surrender disguised as virtue. Look around you. Who holds power? Who commands respect? Who navigates life's treacherous waters with ease? Is it the kindest souls, the most honest hearts, the most selfless spirits? Or is it those who understand the game being played? Those who recognize that human nature hasn't changed since we hunted on the savannah. Only our pretenses have evolved. Niccolò Machiavelli wasn't a monster. He was a mirror, reflecting humanity as it is, not as we wish it to be. In The Prince, he didn't teach evil. He taught survival in a world where power speaks louder than virtue. Men are so simple of mind, and so much dominated by their immediate needs, that a deceitful man will always find plenty who are ready to be deceived. This truth hurts because it strips away our comforting illusions. We want to believe that goodness naturally triumphs, that karma delivers justice, that virtue is its own reward. But how many times have you watched the manipulator get promoted, the charming fraud succeed, the strategic player advance while the honest worker remains stuck? This isn't coincidence, it's pattern. Power isn't granted to the deserving. It flows to those who understand its nature. Machiavelli observed that power respects power. Strength recognizes strength. And those who cannot project strength will forever be at the mercy of those who can. Since love and fear can hardly exist together, if we must choose between them, it is far safer to be feared than loved. This doesn't mean becoming cruel. It means understanding that respect isn't earned through endless accommodation. It's earned through boundaries that carry consequences when crossed. Consider how many times you've swallowed your truth to keep peace. How often you've accepted less than you deserve because you feared conflict. How frequently you've been the emotional shock absorber for others while no one absorbed yours. And what did this earn you? Not respect, not admiration. Perhaps momentary appreciation that evaporated the instant your usefulness did. Because the world doesn't reward the good, it rewards the valuable. And value isn't just in what you give, it's in what you withhold. Your desire to be seen as good isn't entirely virtuous. Let's be brutally honest with ourselves. Behind much of our excessive kindness lies fear. Fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of standing alone, fear of being seen as difficult, selfish, or unlikable. We weren't born this way. We were conditioned. From childhood, many of us learned that our worth was tied to our compliance, our value measured by our usefulness to others, our goodness defined by how little space we took up. The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. Similarly, the first method for estimating your self-worth is to examine what you tolerate. What disrespect do you accept? What boundaries do you allow others to cross? What parts of yourself do you silence to maintain approval? This isn't virtue. It's trained helplessness masquerading as goodness. And the most insidious part? You've been taught to feel pride in this submission, to see your self-erasure as moral superiority, to wear your exploitation as a badge of honor. Machiavelli offered wisdom that still cuts through centuries of moral pretense. A prince must know how to make good use of the nature of the beast. He should choose from among the beasts the fox and the lion. For the lion cannot defend itself from traps, and the fox cannot protect itself from wolves. What does this mean for you? You must develop 2 seemingly contradictory capacities: the fox's cunning and the lion's might. The wisdom to see traps and the strength to deter predators. The fox in you must learn to read people's true intentions, to recognize manipulation before it ensnares you, to understand that words and actions often diverge, to see the game being played around you. The lion in you must learn to roar when necessary, to stand firm in your boundaries, to show that crossing you carries consequences, to command the respect that mere kindness cannot. This isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming your complete self, both strategic and principled, both compassionate and powerful. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. This Machiavellian insight reveals a fundamental truth. Perception shapes reality in the social world. It's not enough to be competent if you appear weak. It's not enough to be trustworthy if you appear naive. It's not enough to be valuable if you appear dispensable. How many times have you watched someone less qualified but more confident advance beyond you? How often have you seen style triumph over substance? How frequently have you witnessed the power of a well-crafted image? This isn't cynicism. It's recognition of how human psychology actually works. We respond to what we perceive, not what invisibly exists. Your kindness means nothing if it's perceived as weakness. Your intelligence means nothing if it's overshadowed by hesitation. Your value means nothing if you present yourself as worthless. Machiavelli understood that managing perceptions isn't dishonesty, it's necessity. The prince who appears weak will be overthrown regardless of his virtue. The leader who cannot project authority will not be followed regardless of his wisdom. The vulgar crowd always is taken by appearances, and the world consists chiefly of the vulgar. One of the most powerful tools in your arsenal is something you've likely been taught to avoid: strategic silence. Most people speak too much. They explain themselves unnecessarily. They reveal their thoughts prematurely. They expose their vulnerabilities carelessly. They dilute their impact through excess. The person who speaks only when necessary, who reveals only what serves their purpose, who maintains a certain mystery, that person commands attention when they finally speak. Think of someone you deeply respect. Do they chatter endlessly? Do they seek constant validation? Do they reveal every thought that crosses their mind? Or do they speak with purpose, leaving you curious about what they're not saying? Power lies not in constant expression, but in calculated restraint. Not in transparency, but in strategic revelation. The one who adapts his policy to the times prospers, and likewise the one whose policy clashes with the demands of the times does not. Emotional mastery is the foundation of all power. The person controlled by their emotions will always be controlled by those who can provoke those emotions. How many times have you been baited into anger that made you appear unstable? How often have you been pushed into fear that forced premature decisions? How frequently have you been manipulated through guilt into giving more than you should? Machiavelli understood that the ruler who cannot rule himself cannot rule others. The person whose emotions are easily triggered cannot maintain strategic advantage. This doesn't mean becoming cold or unfeeling. It means developing the capacity to choose your emotional responses rather than having them chosen for you. To feel anger without being consumed by it, to experience fear without being paralyzed by it, to recognize guilt without being controlled by it. Your emotions are information, not commands. They should inform your decisions, not dictate them. Here is where we transcend simplistic readings of Machiavelli. His wisdom wasn't about abandoning virtue, but about applying it intelligently. Kindness without discernment is folly. Generosity without boundaries is self-destruction. Trust without verification is naivety. A man who is used to acting in one way never changes. He must come to ruin when the times, in changing, no longer are in harmony with his ways. The truly wise person isn't endlessly kind to everyone. They are strategically kind to those who deserve it. They aren't universally trusting. They trust those who have earned it. They aren't indiscriminately generous. They are generous with those who value what they give. This isn't selfishness. It's self-respect. It's recognition that your goodness is precious and should be treated as such, first by you, then by others. Men are so simple and so much inclined to obey immediate needs that a deceiver will never lack victims for his deceptions. Predictable people are easily manipulated. When others can anticipate your every move, your every reaction, your every weakness, they can play you like an instrument. The person who always forgives will be repeatedly wronged. The person who never says no will be endlessly asked. The person who can't walk away will accept any terms. Machiavelli understood that a certain unpredictability creates respect. When people cannot be certain of your reaction, they tread carefully. When they cannot take you for granted, they value you more highly. This isn't about being erratic or unreliable. It's about breaking patterns that make you exploitable. It's about maintaining the capacity to surprise, to say no when yes is expected, to walk away when accommodation is anticipated, to stand firm when yielding is assumed. Men in general judge more by the eyes than by the hands, because everyone can see but few can feel. Everyone sees what you appear to be, few really know what you are. The final piece of Machiavellian wisdom we'll explore is perhaps the most counterintuitive for those raised to be endlessly available, endlessly giving, endlessly present. Your scarcity creates your value. The person who is always available is never missed. The person who gives without limit is never appreciated. The person who is perpetually present becomes part of the background, noticed only in absence. This isn't about playing games or manufacturing false scarcity. It's about recognizing a fundamental truth of human psychology. We value what we cannot easily obtain. We respect what we cannot easily influence. We desire what we cannot easily possess. Your time, your attention, your energy, your presence, these are precious resources. When you treat them as limitless, others will too. When you treat them as valuable, others will follow. Machiavelli has been misunderstood for centuries, painted as an advocate for cruelty when he was actually a clear-eyed observer of human nature. He didn't tell princes to be evil. He told them to be effective in a world that isn't always good. His wisdom isn't about abandoning your virtue. It's about protecting it. It's about ensuring that your goodness isn't exploited, your kindness isn't abused, your generosity isn't taken for granted. Because true goodness isn't about being a doormat. It isn't about endless accommodation. It isn't about erasing yourself to please others. True goodness requires strength. It requires boundaries. It requires strategy. The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. Be both. Be the fox who sees the world clearly, who recognizes manipulation before it ensnares you, and be the lion who stands firm, who protects what matters, who commands respect through presence alone. This is the art of strategic goodness, not the abandonment of virtue, but its intelligent application. Not weakness disguised as morality, but strength aligned with principle. The world will not change its rules for you, but you can learn to navigate it without losing yourself. You can learn to be good without being naive, kind without being exploited, principled without being powerless. This is Machiavelli's true legacy, not a manual for tyrants, but a mirror for the wise. Not an invitation to cruelty, but a path to effectiveness. The question is not whether you will be good. The question is whether your goodness will be strategic enough to survive in a world that isn't always good in return. Choose wisely. Choose strength. Choose to be the fox and the lion.